What's up, family? Been a while since I made a video. It's your boy Les Bezel in the building. You already know. So I'm making this video on how I manifested my new house. Okay, now this video is not for the believers. Um, it's for the believers that need to know. What I mean by that, if you believe in manifestation, if you believe in the quantum realm, if you believe in visualization and esoteric um, activities of the subconscious mind, and you attract what what your frequency is emitting, then you are making a mistake. The mistake is that you're still believing. Do you believe you're a human being, or do you know? Do you believe that you're a man or a woman, or do you know? Matter of fact, let me not even go there. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. You have to know. You don't believe in God. You know that God is real. So that's the starting point, okay? This light is bright. So, a little backstory on me. If you don't know already, I made a video about how I manifested myself out of jail. You can go back and watch that. It wasn't for nothing major in the sense of me doing anything heinous to anybody. I actually confronted my children's stepfather for being, a little inappropriate for my liking with my daughter, and so, you know, I jumped out the window a little bit, but it's my daughter. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, I digress. This is for the people. This is how you manifest what you want, okay? It all starts within, all right? Now, to get into how I got here, we got to go back. So, you know, um long story short, after COVID, the dealership I was working at had to close down. I was in between jobs, went through a whole bunch of stuff, and I ended up on my own for a while. I was living out of hotels, had my own business. So, what I mean, really didn't have anywhere to stay at the time. I'm living out of my truck in hotels and, just making it happen. And, it's foreign for me because I haven't been homeless or didn't have a home and since I was 5 years old, you know what I mean? So, it was definitely a crazy, lonely time. But the teachings, the teachings don't go anywhere. And I'm so grateful for the teachings that I had in this world of manifestation, in this world of the secret. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's super, super, super popular now when it comes to, flow state and, these things work, man. These things work. Like I said, not too long ago, not even, 4 or 5 years ago, I was trying to figure it out, and now I'm here. Just give you a quick tour, nothing too crazy, but it's not bad. You know what I'm saying? Got the washer and dryer, you know what I'm saying? We outside, you know what I mean? Little basement love, you know what I mean? And, we doing our thing. God's grace and mercy, you know what I mean? A couple of bedrooms, bedroom down here, bathroom. Just giving you a quick view of how, how things have changed, and did it happen overnight? No, but it happened. And it happened because I knew it would happen one day. It's because I always wanted it. And then it got to a place where, I started doing visualizations where I already had it. Same thing that happened when, you know, um, I was locked up for a little bit and I had to get myself out. I visualized myself while I was in the cell. I visualized myself in an Uber going to my car that was already parked at the precinct that I parked at, that locked me up and blah, blah, blah. That's a long story, but go back and watch the video. Anyway, these things work. I've manifested money. Now, how you manifest money? These things, I'm not talking out my butt, okay? These are things that if you do your research, and a lot of you already know because you're familiar with Neville Goddard. See, if you're not going to, do the research and find the gurus like Neuro Knowledge. He's the young man on the scene right now. Shout out to Neuro Knowledge. If you don't know who Neuro Knowledge is, then you need to know who Neville Goddard is. If you don't know who Neville Goddard is, then you need to know who Abdullah is. Visualization can happen at any time of the day. You can do it anytime, meditate, whatever. But the best time is when you're about to go to sleep. Now, am I perfect at it? Hell no. I'm out my motherfucking mind sometimes, I get on my own nerves, but the teachings keep me grounded. It gives me a foundation to go back on when I'm tripping, and we live in a very crazy world, and don't underestimate the psychotics of society. People are crazy, and you could become crazy too if you don't go within, because what the devil's trick is, he tells you, let the without affect the within. And that's what we do. Instead of letting the within affect the without. And it goes against everything that we're taught, So you have to read to yourself. You have to, what does it say in the Bible? You will be free by the renewing of your mind. You will be set free by the renewing of your mind. So you have to renew your mind, man. You have to understand that the school system, everything is indoctrinating you to be a slave or, one way or another. Either be a slave as an employee, nothing against having a job, and hell yeah, get a job and work and all that. I had plenty of jobs and been the best employee at every job because I work for the team. But, or, become a slave in the prison system by, doing something stupid because you're trying to get ahead or whatever, or just losing your mind and not having control of your emotions. So all this plays a position in your life and what you're attracting, okay? Because your mind is powerful. The frequency, the electromagnetic field that your mind produces is very powerful. But the electromagnetic field that your heart produces, it can be 100 to 200 to 600 times more powerful than the mind. So that tells you what you feel attracts what type of time you want. You know what I mean? And I've been in every situation. I've been on the block with the killers. I've been in Turks and Caicos in the white sand, you feel me? So I know the dynamics. I know the difference of dynamics of what you're attracted. And it's deep because once you realize you got this power, it's hard to believe it. It's hard to, but I mean, you should believe it because you got the same power to get yourself in trouble. You got the same power to get yourself, into darkness, into despair. So you have to understand the power of choice. God gave us power. Why would God give us the power of choice if there wasn't power behind choosing? There's power when you choose something. So when you choose a life of abundance and prosperity and love and faith and gratitude, you're going to get that back. You know what I mean? And it's how you living. See, when I was down and out and I was going through it, I still wasn't evil. You can't let the hard times make you evil. You know what I mean? Because that's what happens to a lot of people. And then you're blocking your blessings because you're digging yourself down instead of crawling up out. You know what I mean? So, a lot of times people don't understand why things happen to them. And it's like, yo, how you treating people? Not even how you treating people, how you feel about people. How you feeling about other people? You know what I mean? How are you, and don't get me wrong, I talk shit with the best of them. You know what I mean? My girlfriend laughs at me because I'll be driving, I'm cursing people out, but then after I curse them out, I say, God bless them. Because it really is God bless them, because I want God to bless me. So if I want God to bless me, why wouldn't I want blessings for him? And I know this doesn't seem like it has anything to do with how I manifested a house and everything, but it does. It really does. God blesses his chosen ones that decide to do his work. And it's not easy, but you have to have the faith. So getting back to how, I manifested the home, it started with visualization. I seen myself in my own house. I seen myself, in the backyard cooking out. I seen myself, pulling in my driveway and just the kids playing in the house and all that. So, did it happen overnight? Of course not. but the dream never died, no matter what was going on in the outside. That's what I'm making this video for. I've been down, dude. I've been down. You know what I mean? And not too long ago, I was down. You know, trying to figure it out, living out of hotels, sometimes living out of my truck, I had my Planet Fitness membership, had my Black Card membership, so I would bust moves when I could. And not saying I didn't have help from people and family and things, but I'm a man, I got pride, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to figure it out, you know what I'm saying? And God does work through people, places, and things. And there were people that he used in my life to help me get here. But that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't an asset. If I didn't have something to offer. And even if it's just love, you know what I mean? Love, leadership, stick-to-itiveness, hard work. First of all, hard work, trumps everything. Any career, any job I've had, anything I've ever done, I only know one way, and that's to go hard. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm a business owner, because I'm able to steward myself when it comes to business, because I'm very detailed. I have OCD in a sense. So, anything I've done, I've worked hard, and people always recognize that. And they recognize, hey, he's a hardworking dude. He's a smart guy. He's a good guy, because I'm 6'7", about 240. So, people going to judge. It's just normal. You know what I mean? I see other tall people and I'm like, damn. So, I can only expect. So people going to judge, and then, jealousy and envy is an epidemic of our society, but that's a whole nother video. But what I'm trying to say is that I always, put my best foot forward in everything I did, because I knew I deserved the best. I knew I deserved the best, and most importantly, my children deserve the best. So, when you are in the darkness, when you're climbing out the hole, you can't forget that there's light at the top of that hole. You know what I mean? There's light at the end of that tunnel, and you can't forget that light when you're surrounded in darkness, because if you do, you're just going to keep going down in the darkness. And we know a lot of people that do that. You might be a person doing that right now, but you can stop that right now. You don't have to hit rock bottom to get to change, to fix things. And if you are at rock bottom, you don't got to stay there, bro. You don't have to stay there. You can get up. Trust me. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've relapsed several times, and it's turned my life upside down. That's why I've been through all the things I was going through the last 7 years. If you go back to the, to the core of it, it was because of my alcoholism. So, that's another video for another day. But like I said, my teachings kept me solid. No matter how down I got, no matter how much my back was against the wall, my faith and my belief, my faith and my knowing in God. Like I said, this video is for the believers that need to start knowing. So my knowing that God loves me. I'm one of God's. I wouldn't be here. He wouldn't have blessed me the way he did. He saved my life so many times from the time I was a kid all the way up to now. And then blessing me with children and everything. He wouldn't have gave me this heart. He wouldn't have gave me, this mind, body, and soul if I wasn't his. So I had to remember that in my darkest times. And, through my darkest times, I still had to keep my humanity, keep my sanity, and it got better. And, sometimes some days were harder than the next, but my discipline grew. You know what I mean? Whatever you doing, you got to do, more of that to distract yourself from the bullshit. And a lot of times you find yourself in the darkest times because, it's only you. So whether it be working out, always kept working out, working hard, starting a new business, I kept myself busy with businesses and all that. And, and that's it. And I kept hustling and busting moves. And, God sends angel. This person works with you. This person works with you. Next thing you're moving. And then boom. you hit a home run. And the home runs, if you ever seen baseball, home runs come out of nowhere. Like you trying to hit it. You want to hit a home run, but you never know when you're going to hit a home run. So, when it does pop, it's like, oh shit, that's a home run. So, but, when you hitting singles and doubles and triples, you ain't even tripping off the home run. Like, nigga, I'm on base. Nigga, we getting home. Bro, I might be getting it the long way, but you know what I mean? It's better than striking out. It's better than striking out. You feel me? So that's when, the home run comes. You like, oh shit, I hit a home run, but I've been getting on base this long. So you feel me? The home run's nice, but it's like, you feel me? Damn, I've been getting on base. And it's like, nah, nigga. You got to appreciate the home run. That's the beautiful thing about the grind, though. Is like when you grinding and then something dope happens and things start moving, your trajectory's moving up, you kind of get distracted from it. You know what I mean? And I always say that we never give the same credence to positivity as we do when something negative happens. Something negative happens, the sky's falling. When something great happens, like, okay. Like, nah, dog, like, this shit is crazy. That's why I'm making this video right now, because, like, I had to think about, how far I've came in the last several years. And, I made a lot of mistakes and a lot of decisions and a lot of craziness has happened. And I'm here, talking to you guys, in my new home, and just still can't believe it. Just like I can't believe this. Just like, you know what I mean? But it happens. Now going back to visualization, counting money, count fake money. I'm serious. It works. I've counted out $10,000 in hundreds, fake. And then things happen, and next thing you know, I'm counting this money out for real within a couple of months. And it was a situation where I wasn't even trying to do it. It was just, because God uses people, places, and things. So people, places, and things started happening. And I'm like, okay, all right. And next thing you know, and I had to look back like, damn. And was, like, damn, like I was sitting in my car by myself, literally counting fake money. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700. I would feel the money. I would feel it, feel it in my hands. And also when I had money, when you have money, you should be feeling that money. Feel your $100 bill, smell it, get in touch with it. You know what I'm saying? And then when you do this visualization, it makes it even realer. So, I could smell money right now. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 2,000. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 3,000. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 4,000. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 5,000. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 6,000. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but it fucking works, okay? If you want to listen to me, if you want, whatever. I'm from the hood. Everybody that know me know I'm from the trenches. You feel me? Shit's real. I got a lot of friends, a lot of family that's dead or in jail, and I'm sitting here making a YouTube video talking to y'all. So if you want to believe it, you can believe it. I'm 40 years old. Yeah, I don't look like it. God is great. You know what I mean? But, I tell people I'm not perfect, but I'm not evil. I'm not evil. I don't want to harm people. I don't want harm to come to other people. I don't want to do fucked up shit to other people. Have I done things in the past that I'm not proud of? Of course, we all have, but you learn from it. If you're smart and blessed, you learn from it, and you learn that you pick a side. That's what it got down to. I always love God. I always praise God. I always, prayed to God and always had a relationship with God. So, when I was doing the wrong thing and he got me out of it, I said, oh, I gotta chill. You feel me? God giving me chances, remember I was in a really bad situation back in the day when I was like 20 years old, man. And I prayed to God. I said, you get me out of this, I'll never go back to this shit again. And he did. And I never did. And, you know, I had bumps and all that. But when you go through the bumps, you can't curse God. You can't curse your life. You can't curse the world. You got to have your faith has to turn up. You got to turn up. When shit's hitting the fan, that's when you're supposed to be the most delusional. That's when I'm the most delusional with my faith and my manifestation. When shit hitting the fan, because I need something to work. You feel me? Shit hitting the fan, the sky's falling, the fucking ground's cracking. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to keep my mind, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. So usually my go-to when I'm tripping is go drink, but I can't do that. You feel me? If God wanted me to drink, he wouldn't have made me an alcoholic. I'm not supposed to drink. That's why I'm an alcoholic. You know what I mean? But that's a whole nother video. But like I said, these things work. Visualization works. It works if you work it. Faith without works is dead. Now, do you have to put the work in? Yeah, you got to put the work in. You got to go, you know, get a job. You got to start a business. You got to meet people. You got to mingle. You got to, you know what I mean? You got to be an asset. You got to be humble. You got to be humble. You know what I mean? Because God says vengeance is his. That ain't up to you. Let them rock. Yeah, you got to stand up for yourself, and, you know, nobody's going to respect you if you don't respect yourself, but you got to pick your battles. You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, because a lot of times shit ain't even that serious. You know what I'm saying? It ain't that serious. How many times people go to jail or die because of something stupid, because they couldn't control their emotions? Because remember, the heart is way more powerful than the mind. So how you feeling can overshadow what you thinking. Because how many times you done did some dumb shit, or you hear somebody, you look at some story about some dumb motherfuckers like, I was not thinking. Yeah, you wasn't thinking. You was feeling, dog. And feeling is cool if you're using it the right way. It's like anything. We all need fire. We can't live without fire. We all need fire and heat, but that shit can burn you. We all need electricity, but that shit, we use it every day. I'm using it right now, but that shit can shock you. So it's the same thing with your heart. If you use it, if you feeling the wrong thing in your heart, you can attract some bullshit. You feeling the right thing, and you can, you know, you can attract your dreams. But that's all on you, man. You know what I mean? Like, listen, the proof's in the pudding, man. I can't. How this happened is, I don't know. The how you're gonna manifest your dreams is none of your business. Just know that you're going to do it. That's it. That's the secret. How is none of your business. Your work is to visualize. I don't care if you even don't believe, it's still going to happen. You think I believed when I was counting all that money? And I did it. I used to do it, visualize and sleep, but I always had some bread. I've always had some bread. I've always had the, you know what I mean? I sold these hats. I went to go buy one hat. Because I was in Jersey. I knew there wasn't going to be no hats in New York before the parade. And I ain't even see it. My girl until see, I'm like, oh shit. Then there's mad hats. I'm like, oh, I'm about to buy more hats. So I ended up buying like 10 hats. You know, gave one to my son. I took one and then I sold the rest in New York. I wasn't planning on that shit. You know what I mean? But the opportunity presented itself. You know what I mean? So things are like that. You have to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves. But you can if you're blinded with hate. If you're blinded with self-pity. Whoo, that self-pity's a motherfucker, boy. Whoo, that self-pity will get your ass. You know, if you're blinded with revenge, that's another one. You know, the 7 deadly sins are true. All these different things. You know, especially if you got if you grimy, man. If you grimy, man, you asking for it. That's it. You asking for it. You know what I'm saying? And not in the sense that you can't manifest what you want, but you'll end up, you know, bringing something, you know, bringing some negative energy into it where, you know, you might not be able to keep it, or it'll come the wrong way. And you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of different things that come with that. All I say is just, you know, just for the world. Do it for the world. If you, you know, I understand we all, you know, got to make it and figure it out. But, you know, being the best version of yourself is beneficial to this world and to this planet and to this society. You know, we all have people that we love in this world. And no matter what you've been through, there's somebody there that will help you and love you and be an angel for you. But you can't be out here wailing. You know what I mean? You can't be out here, you know, bringing that negative energy, because you're going to attract that bullshit, man. You know what I mean? So if you want to manifest you know, something you want to manifest your dreams, it starts with visualization. It starts with knowing, you know. Even like I said, how you do it ain't none of your business. You know what I mean? But it's possible. Again, um, what's my man? My man Elmer. Elmer, what's his last name? But look up Elmer. He's the homie. Um, Neuro Knowledge. Definitely look him up. We all know who Neville Goddard is. His teacher Abdullah. You know, if you don't put in the work to get the knowledge, then you're gonna keep being blind. Like picture being blind and somebody says all you got to do is this and you can see again and you ignore it, you know what I mean? And it's so crazy how manifestation in the quantum field has grown because now you just hear it in everyday talk. I'm watching ESPN, they talking about flow state and shit. I'm like, what the fuck? But you got to respect it. Why wouldn't somebody successful know about manifestation? They manifested their dreams, did they not? They're on TV, they're a professional athlete, they're an actor, whatever, so they know the most because they did it. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you, you can do it too, man. You can do whatever you want, man. You know, but you gotta believe, bro. You gotta believe. You gotta know. You gotta believe that you know. You know what I mean? And use it. You know. But the visualization works, man. It works, and I don't do it as much as I should. You know, but it really does work. So put your best foot forward. You know, be the best version of yourself. Love yourself. Understand that you are enough. You are deserving. You are abundant. You are prosperous, and you are highly favored. Okay? Give yourself a break. All right? And whatever you're doing that's hindering you from becoming the best version of yourself, stop that shit. Stop it. You know what I'm talking about. Holla at your boy. I love y'all. Peace.